Yeah, it has been an absolute hell of a week. There's been a lot of drama going on, some of which was supposed to be covered on Monday, but sadly we were having too much fun, and so I didn't get a chance to talk about that. And then Callum brushed over a little bit of it on Wednesday when he spoke about drama wars. But I'm going to focus in and follow up on a few of the things that I've covered over recent weeks. First of all, that being the P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, P. Diddler situation that's ongoing right now. Because as I explained in this, there have been a number of lawsuits filed against him over the past few months. One by his previous, a former girlfriend of his, who alleged all manner of horrible things, freak outs, freak offs, whatever they're called, with prostitutes, where she was forced to have sex with prostitutes, some of whom were underage, take drugs against her will, all filmed on camera, seemingly as a way from the inside of the music industry to keep a hold, keep an iron grip on these young up and coming stars so that they don't get any feeling that they can go off and make their own way in their life, make their own career for themselves. They have to be under the foot of Sean P. Diddy Combs the whole time. Now, that
So,
is.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Oh, can I just say
Oh,
first?
sorry, yeah, go.
That was not taken to court. That was not proved. So all of that is still allegations, technically in the public eye right now. But he did settle that the day after it was filed.
Speaks volumes.
But go on.
Do we know if J-Lo has broken her silence? Because Puffy and J-Lo were an item for many a year back in the 90s.
I don't know. You're far more of a Puff Daddy aficionado than I am.
Am I?
Yeah, well, yes, you are. From the discussions of The Office the other day, you seem to know a bit more about all of this.
Oh, I know.
About his history, I should say, than I do.
Yeah, I know a fair bit about the slaying of
Tupac
and Biggie.
Biggie, yeah. The story of Biggie, because they were best buds, weren't they?
Mm.
Puffy and Biggie.
Well, he's saying I'll be missing you in the cover for the Police with Biggie's widow. So.
Yeah. But one of the other most recent ones, I think it was filed in February, was by a producer called Rodney Jones, codename Lil Rod, rather unfortunate name to be festooned with right there. But he put in a lawsuit alleging all manner of things. It was over 70 pages long. It had images, it had text messages, all included in it, that alleged very similar things, that P. Diddy has been running essentially a sexual blackmail ring within Hollywood and within the music industry for a very, very long time. This guy, Lil Rod, he had worked with P. Diddy on his most recent album as the producer, and alleged that as part of that, he was living with P. Diddy, found that P. Diddy's house was wired with cameras in every single room, including his
Prince
bedroom.
style.
I didn't know that Prince had cameras in his house. Oh, fair play. Including his bedroom, as I'm sure Prince probably did as well, if that's what was going on.
So did Michael Jackson.
And Epstein.
Yeah, but obviously there was lots of dodgy stuff going on. He says that he was also forced essentially to take loads of drugs and have sex with underage prostitutes, and, well, or at least film people having sex with underage prostitutes. There was quite a few people named, including Cuba Gooding Jr., as part of this, that he's involved in these allegations. Prince Harry was named in these documents as well. So it's all very, very interesting. And there has been a bit of a follow-up on that, which is that Diddy had a drug mule who was arrested at Miami airport. At the same time, both of his sons were being put in cuffs because two of his mansions were raided by the FBI. So I'll go through some of the information here. Federal agents raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami at the same day as part of a sex trafficking investigation and detained two of his sons. Now, neither of them were arrested, but they were detained and put in handcuffs. That's Justin and King Combs, were released later without charge.
Adopted sons, then?
No, that's Brendan Paul. That will be his drug mule.
Yeah, that was his drug mule. Diddy was spotted at about 3 p.m. at Opa-locka Airport not long before Paul was arrested there, hours after the raid started, after his jet flew in from LA. The Department of Homeland Security are involved in this, and as well as other local law enforcement. They were contacted by the Daily Mail as part of this, but they said that they couldn't comment on his location. It seems that he's gone underground right now. He is off-grid. People don't know where he is.
It's literally on the lam.
Yeah. He was scheduled to fly to the Caribbean and blocked the public tracking of his jet after it arrived in Miami. Police seized his phones, but he wasn't arrested. So they actually had him, by the sounds of it, took his phones and didn't arrest him. And then the Love Air LLC Gulfstream 5 jet was later tracked to the Caribbean island of Antigua, but he wasn't on board. So people don't know where he is. His spokesmen have come out and said, all of these allegations are horrible. I can't believe we're doing this. This is persecution of the most horrible kind from the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. How could you do this? But he's gone. And Paul, who was arrested, was referred to as Diddy's drug mule in the Lil Rod lawsuit. So it's mental right now.
Sorry to interrupt the video, but I just want to tell you about our merch store, because we get a lot of people asking how can we support you beyond signing up to the website, and the merch store is the best way. So if you'd like to support us, go over to the website and check it out. Thank you very much.
And if this all turns out to be true, it'll say a lot about why the music industry and Hollywood works as it does. I would say if it does turn out to be true, there will be some explosive revelations from it, unless it gets the Epstein treatment. Because, of course, Lil Rod has said that he has hundreds of hours of video footage of all of these people whose names he's alleging in the documents, doing terrible, terrible things with young people who shouldn't have been put in those situations. Of course, this could all get swept under the rug and get Epsteined if it's all true. And if it's not true, then this can all be dismissed. But it sounds pretty explosive. So that's just the first update that I wanted to go over with what was going on with P. Diddy. But one of the things that I was covering as part of the whole P. Diddy thing was one of the people who was covering it in quite a lot of detail was Candace Owens. And as part of this, Candace Owens was not, because obviously she worked for the Daily Wire, she was not at all reticent in talking about the fact that a lot of these industries are run by people of a particular background and particular faith. And that she was alleging that Michael Jackson had been persecuted by these same people because he was trying to protect children. I know, obviously, there's a lot of different conflicting ideas of what Michael Jackson was up to, but she says that he came out in the mid-90s with a lot of claims that people said were anti-Semitic. He ended up getting assigned a rabbi for a short time, and she was talking about a lot of that sort of stuff in a way that wasn't improving her relationship with the Daily Wire.
I think we need to be a bit more specific here, just because if the audience have absolutely a frame of reference, that's quite hard to follow.
Okay.
So with the Michael Jackson allegations...
Yeah, you know more about this than I do anyway. Or at least you've got it on the top of your head.
Yeah, so in the Michael Jackson allegations, and particularly the first case, lots of the people involved, including the lawyer, the father who was trying to take him to court, they were Jewish. It prejudiced Michael Jackson against many Jews, and that's why in his song They Don't Really Care About Us, he used the Jewish slur and used Spike Lee to film the music video over in Brazil where it looked like he was dressing up in a Nazi uniform and giving a Roman salute. Yes. He then retracted that, changed the lyrics, refilmed the music video in a jail to be about black racism, when originally it seemed to be that he had animosity against the Jews for what he thought was a coordinated attack on his character to try and tie him up in legal disputes that Sony could get the Beatles, Elvis, and his music catalogue, which he was owning at the time. And that's why towards the end of his life, he met up with Louis Farrakhan and had a phone call leaked where he had blamed the Jews and called them leeches and said that they were taking his money.
This is all very similar to what happened with Kanye a few years ago, where he was alleging that the music industry as a whole was being run in a mob-like fashion by Jewish people.
That's exactly what Spike Lee's anti-Semitism controversy was right before Michael Jackson filmed a music video with him. There seems to be a long-standing contention here that black artists feel that their record labels are exploiting them, and because lots of the record labels are run by successful Jewish people, usually secular, not religious, therefore there's anti-Semitism coming from the black music crowd, which is why lots of them coordinate with Farrakhan, like Snoop Dogg, for example, and all that. So
Snoop Dogg met with Farrakhan?
Farrakhan got banned on Facebook, and Snoop Dogg made a video saying "Free Minister Farrakhan."
Oh, fair play.
Yeah, Candace Owens seems to have been commenting on a long-running tension between the American black community and the American Jewish community in the music industry. And someone at the center of this, the rabbi that Michael Jackson was assigned to make his PR look better, was Rabbi Shmuley, who worked at Oxford University and was called America's rabbi.
And as we carry on, if his behavior recently is anything to go by, I can understand why Rabbi Shmuley's attempts were not exactly successful.
We need to be careful slightly because Rabbi Shmuley is very litigious. I will just say that as a ambassador for the American Jewish community and the Jewish community writ large, because I know his daughter lives in Israel, he doesn't seem to be a very credible or well-adjusted person. And I will leave my critiques at that.
No, yeah, he does like to throw out threats of legal action, but they seem to mainly be threats, but I will be careful when I discuss him. But
it does seem like a bit of an embarrassment.
He's very theatrical. Yeah.
Well, I'll get on to the fact that there are quite a few like well-adjusted Jewish people who are saying, please stop. Just please, for the love of God, Rabbi Shmuley, shut up. Stop it
This
right
guy's
now.
a schmuck.
Yeah,
This guy's a schlemiel already. Before we get on to that, though, I just want to ask about, so no one knows where Puffy is.
as far as I can tell, most of the updated news that I've seen from the past day or so haven't been saying that he's been found or arrested. They just say that his plane, his jet, arrived in the Caribbean. He wasn't on it. They picked him up, took his phone.
How does that make sense, though? Do you know there's like a famous heist from, I think, the 70s where a guy jumped out of an airplane mid-flight with all the money and then just disappeared? Do you know this one? I can't remember the guy's name because he's given...
Was it Bill something? It was a fake name?
It's a fake name, and the FBI never found him. There'll be so many people in the comments just putting his name. I can't remember the guy's name. It's one of the most famous unsolved heists of all time.
Yeah, there's some speculation he either did get away with it, or he maybe
died in the wilderness because he dropped into the wilderness. Right?
Maybe his parachute didn't open and he died, or he starved, or even he maybe fell onto DB Cooper.
DB Cooper.
Yes.
So Puff Daddy's done a DB Cooper. He jumped out of his own aeroplane over the Caribbean Sea. Like, where is he? Sorry, what's going on?
I don't know. We don't know.
Because famously, Sean Combs has got a giant yacht, right? That was always the thing. You get invited on P. Diddy's yacht. Maybe he jumped out of his aeroplane mid-flight,
like James Bond, and parachutes in.
No. This is. I'm sure this is a San Andreas mission that I played on GTA like 20 years ago.
Member of Saints Row, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, but people don't know where he's gone.
But where's Wally? Where's
Diddy?
Where's Diddy? This is surprising to me.
Yeah,
I find it interesting.
The whole thing is mental, but on the Candace Owen things, it seems that tensions escalated within the Daily Wire, especially because she was also very critical of Israel and the Palestinian-Israel conflict recently. And then this came out just a week ago now. Jeremy Boring says Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship. And this led to a lot of speculation as to why. Candace Owens confirmed it herself, said that she would be going ahead with her own website and you can support her wherever you are. I would say it does start, seemingly, with the fact that Candace was very openly critical of Israel, to the point where it was quite a story back in November that Ben Shapiro was not happy with how critical she had been, some of the talking points that she had, because she'd already had the controversy when Kanye came out and had his literal public mental breakdown last year or the end of 2022, and she had come out and defended him, because Candace Owens seems to genuinely, in a sincere way, she seems to want what is best for the black community, and she saw defending Kanye as a form of defending the black community.
And Kyrie Irving, after he watched a very strange Amazon Prime documentary that said that black people were the original Jews. And
she's had quite a few controversies behind her.
Yeah.
If she's a free agent, couldn't we get a Zoom with her? You or Carl might have some connections.
She did respond to my tweet in relation to this whole... Yeah, I'm accidentally involved in this. I don't have a particular line on her, but I would be happy to chat to her. I know she comes over to UK quite a lot because her husband's George Farmer, who's a son of a British lord, I believe.
I don't know anything about that. But Cole knows people, you know people. Maybe we could get a...
But yeah, she's definitely a free agent right now. But like I say, this is seemingly where it starts.
This was a closed-door university event.
So if you didn't catch that, that was Ben Shapiro when asked by an audience at a closed-door
university event. He said that Candace Owens' behaviour has been disgraceful, to a round of applause, and the video then got leaked.
Oh.
Yes, and Candace Owens was asked about this on Tucker, so she was on a separate show responding to her boss, basically, saying, he's just throwing ad homs at me. I can't respond to anything. So already there were some tensions boiling right there. There was some animosity. But I think what probably pushed it over the edge. Now, Jeremy Boring was on a Twitter space with Lauren Chen and other people.
I was there as well.
Were you in the audience?
I didn't get the chance to talk but Lauren had invited me because of the tweet, but it was like 1 a.m. I didn't want to wake people up. But Sovereign Bra accidentally called me Jewish.
What?
Lauren just went, Connor's very Catholic.
Yeah. And Nick Fuentes was on that call.
He was on quite a bit later, yeah.
And he ended up
being
having
quite evasive.
He ended up having an exchange with Jeremy Boring.
I dipped out by then, but I have listened to some of it.
But I think this is what pushed it over the edge. The fact that Nick Fuentes and people like that have become involved. Obviously, he is a very, very controversial figure, and he does not shy away often from putting his foot in directly into his mouth on his own live stream. Sometimes you'll just be scrolling through Twitter, you'll see someone post something from him where he'll be talking about a situation and he'll be like, saying things that are, halfway reasonable, and then saying something like, oh, no, also I love Hitler.
Yeah, and also,
that's getting clipped. Sorry, Karen.
he's made multiple jokes about questioning the Holocaust. And it's like, as soon as he's been pressed on it, he gets quite evasive as to whether or not he actually thinks this. So my thing is with Nick, I don't know him. Just like I don't know Candace personally. I don't particularly like his content. I don't really watch it. I just have a gut reaction when I can tell that someone's not being quite transparent with me. And so in this situation, he hasn't come out too clean either. But
people also think he's a gay cat boy. Oh, well, I don't know the accuracy of that, but I just see people ban that one about every
one of the main things that drew Candace into controversy with Ben is after this clip, she put out a Matthew verse that said, "You cannot worship God or money." That was towards the end. And then Ben took that as a personal slight, saying, well, if your views lead you into conflict with your paymaster's Daily Wire, then you can just leave, which isn't really a very professional way to conduct business, because Ben was a co-founder, but he's not currently the CEO, of course. And then Candace Owens responded to him with "Christ is King." And that's where this controversy has come from.
Yeah, I think as well, like I say, what seems to have pushed it over the edge was that the ADL was sharing a Media Matters piece talking about how Nick Fuentes, who they characterized, not entirely unfairly, as white supremacist Holocaust denier, praising Candace Owens' vitriolic anti-Semitism. Now, Jeremy Boring said that he couldn't care less what the ADL has to say, etc., etc., but you can't say that all of this media attention in this direction didn't affect their decision. I've seen also some people saying that they'd spoken to some Daily Wire insiders, and it was because of the fact that she had said Christ is King, which is something that Nick Fuentes also says was possibly what pushed Jeremy Boring over the edge. Also, as part of the Twitter space, he did explicitly say that he fired her. I don't think he meant to, but he said, I can't share details about why I fired someone.
Andrew Klavan came out and said that the Christ is King thing is explicitly why she was gone. He was the only one that's directly addressed this for the Twitter space, which is how I accidentally got involved, because I took the clip of Klavan saying that to say Christ is King to Jewish people is anti-Semitic, which is not the case. Andrew Klavan is an ethnic Jew, but he's a Christian convert. He also said that to tell Ben Shapiro that he should convert to Christianity is anti-Semitism because God has put Ben Shapiro in the place that he wants him to be, and to tell him to no longer be Jewish but to become Christian will dislocate him from his family and that will ruin his career, which isn't a very Christian thing to say. And then he went on to say, as a Jew, I'm proud of my race. And why do you think that Europe has dwindled into nothing and is insignificant since they killed 2/3 of their Jews? Which makes it sound like he said that Jews were the only thing that made Europe great, which rubbed me up the wrong way a little bit.
Now, I've only seen clips of that, so I can't address what it was in context. Yeah. I'll take your word.
Like I say, so I've not really ever watched any of Nick Fuentes. Every now and again, there'll be sort of a clip or make it on Twitter, some sort of funny thing. But I've never really watched any of his content. The only thing I ever saw was a bunch of black women goading him into saying the N-word.
Oh, that was fresh and fit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, but I am aware of the guy. Mm-hmm. But like, what's wrong? Sorry, what's the argument again? Because I'm not a Christian. But what's wrong with saying Christ is King? If that's what you think, how is that possibly
the association with Nick
wrong
Fuentes?
With that? There's nothing wrong with that. That's
the association with Nick Fuentes and his groypers, as they're known, is that they will throw that phrase at Jewish people as a way of saying like synagogue of Satan and stuff like that. That's as a way of mocking them, as a way of goading them, and therefore anyone saying it is anti-Semitic. A lot of people have contentions with that. A lot of people have a problem with the idea that it's anti-Semitic, but there is a kind of push-pull going right now of people saying it is, people saying that it isn't.
Surely it's a cornerstone.
It is.
Christianity, though. So if you don't accept that, you're sort of...
You're not Christian. Yeah,
right, so...
you would be Jewish because unless you're a Messianic Jew, you don't acknowledge the divinity of Christ. This is something that Klavan, Oren McIntyre has done a great summary of the theology, but I'll just do it really quickly.
He's the King of Kings.
Quite based. Happy Good Friday.
Oh yeah, Good Friday.
So Klavan is following a sort of dispensational style theology, which is quite common after the Second World War, particularly among the boomers, which Klavan is, which says that because the Jews now exist in their Holy Land, they don't need to acknowledge Christ as the Son of God in order to be saved. So you can be Jewish and not Christian, but also achieve salvation. Whereas pretty much every other Christian sect will turn around and say, no, covenants are a continuity. So first it was made with Adam, then Noah, then Abraham and his descendants. And then when Israel fell and the Jewish authorities became scornful of Christ, the new covenant comes with Christ. And now it's not just consigned to the Jews as a race, as Claven unfortunately said. It is, as Paul wrote, neither man nor woman, no Jew nor Gentile, nor slave nor free man. You just sign up to Christianity and acknowledge the kingship of Christ, and then you are saved. And so that's why you're called to evangelize. And so if you're evangelizing Jews who haven't recognized the divinity of Christ yet, you're not being anti-Semitic. You're just saying, oh, I'd quite like to save your soul, please, if I actually believe in this. Therefore, please acknowledge this. It's not that you're saying you hate Jews and want another Holocaust. That's totally absurd.
It seems to me that if you claim on any level, in any real context, that saying Christ is king is anti-Semitic, then you're very, very close to saying that all of Christianity is anti-Semitic.
Yes.
In every sense. You can't be a Christian and not be not anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
It's right. It's
Which
dangerously close to that, isn't it?
I don't think Claven intends to do that. And I say this as a Claven fan. I actually own his books.
I've never watched any Claven ever, so I don't know.
It's been really disappointing for me because I really like the guy, but inadvertently he's made that line of logic, even though he's meant to be a Christian.
Anyway, moving on. This wasn't the only thing as well. Candace had been attacked recently on an article on PJ Media by Rabbi Michael Barkley called "Let's Be Honest, Candace Owens is a Jew-hating bigot." Now I'm going to read some excerpts from this because some actually libelous claims were made in this article, which she said that she might take action about, and we'll see the result of that in a moment. So he says, "This is a woman who is such an anti-Semite and so ignorant of history that in 2018, she publicly said that Hitler was okay. Her hatred is vitriolic and her hubris has let her make comments that are especially outrageous in the aftermath of the tragedies of October 7. Her repeated comments show her hatred of Jews, her absolute ignorance of history or geopolitics, and betray the reality that she is an uneducated airhead who has successfully capitalized on her brand of a young black female conservative. A mere month after the horrors of babies being beheaded, women being raped, and the slew of horrors from Hamas, Owens went on Tucker Carlson's show to speak about how it really wasn't that bad, and why should she even care? After all, she seems to think Hitler was okay, so what's the problem? When we look at her life and words from her victim lawsuit at 17 to now, one thing is clear. Candace Owens hates Jews. All her words and actions demonstrate this: her approval of Hitler, her support of Kanye West's comments, her apathy towards October 7. Her tacit approval of Hamas and vocal condemnation of Israel, her labeling Jews who point out her anti-Semitism as thugs and gangs, her promotion of the libelous Jew-hating trope of Hollywood being run by Jews, and her most recent attacks on a respected rabbi and his family, that respected rabbi being Shmuley, who, as far as I can tell, was the one who started it a few years ago when he started to criticize her. So obviously, a lot of very bad things said in that article. Let's see what happens to that article if you go to it now. They've retracted it.
Yeah.
Upon further review, we have determined that the following article does not meet PJ Media's editorial standards. We apologize to our readers for the oversight because they don't want to get dragged into a lawsuit.
So is it actually libelous then?
Yes.
Was it?
Yes.
And we'll see why. Because as a result of that, before taking legal action, Candace decided to actually have Rabbi Barkley on her show.
In a good faith discussion, actually.
Which was still the Daily Wire at the time. And it was a very interesting discussion. I've listened to most of it. And as far as I can tell, Rabbi Barkley, he calls himself a conservative, but he argues in a way that is very familiar if you've ever argued with a leftist. I'm not going to go over all the clips. There is one clip that I'll play, but his arguments center around this idea that anti-Semitism is whatever Jews say it is, which is an incredible tool, because then literally you can just be malleable and do whatever you want, because if you do anything that I don't like, therefore it's anti-Semitic. And there are some states like South Dakota at the moment, which despite their tiny Jewish population are instigating hate speech laws that criminalize anything that could be considered anti-Semitism. So,
Texas has just done that as well.
Texas, yeah. So they're increasingly, if that's the standard that's being applied, anybody who gets on the bad side of somebody like Rabbi Barkley or Rabbi Shmuley might have some kind of criminal action taken against them.
Like accepting Christ as your king.
He said that
would be anyway. Sorry, we've done that.
No, he said to contest the state of Israel is anti-Semitism, because anti-Semitism has mutated from the Middle Ages from a hatred of Jews for their religion to a hatred of Jews for their race to now, because Jews have a nation exist there, a hatred of the Jewish nation means you're anti-Semitic. So Candace Owens is anti-Semitic because she's criticized Israel for the Hamas war.
But also, once again, this is literally the critical race theory leftist idea of what prejudice is. If you're racist against black people, how do you know? Well, because a black person has told you that you were racist against them. How do you know if you were sexist? Well, if you said hello to a woman in a way that a woman doesn't like, she can say that you're being sexist. And now that you've got, obviously, the same way that we have over here, we have hate speech laws. If you're having hate speech laws specifically for anti-Semitism in the US, where you're applying that standard, anybody can get in trouble for literally anything. If you go, maybe Israel should let up before they go to Rafah. They've herded all of these refugees down into a city on the border of Egypt, and now Netanyahu, I think he's stopped that now, but he was going to have a ground invasion or some kind of bombing of Rafah. Maybe don't do that. I don't like that. Well, then Rabbi Barkley or anybody, Shmuley, can say you're an anti-Semite and get you potentially arrested or at least fined, taken out your job.
I don't know how America could have any sort of hate speech laws, though, because isn't it? Well, it's in their constitution, right? The freedom of speech.
But it's reliant on someone challenging that at the Supreme Court.
That constitution doesn't amount to much these days, sadly. But anyway, his other contentions are that October 7th was literally the worst day in human history ever.
He did actually say that.
You would think that even from a Jewish perspective, 70 AD, when there's the fall of the Second Temple, you would think that obviously what happened on October 7th was awful. It was a tragedy. People were murdered, innocent people were murdered and raped. That's a terrible thing to happen. But if you don't agree with him that it's the worst thing to ever happen in human history, surely he would even say that what was happening in Auschwitz, if you're going by pure numerical figures...
Yeah, there were just more dead,
would be worse.
But that day of the Battle of the Somme springs to mind.
Perhaps.
But
if you're going by numbers, pure numbers.
Specifically to a Jewish person,
all right,
you would think these events in Jewish history were worse than October 7th. Yeah. Even though October 7th is still evil and a tragedy. Candace
refused to agree with him that crimes against Jews are uniquely evil and put above all other crimes committed to any other people other than Jews, and that anti-Semitism is a unique hatred which can morph throughout history. That was one of his other things.
And you're right to say Titus's sack of the temple in 70 AD. Surely that's worse. If you're going to, not the first day of the Somme, but specifically against Jewish people, surely that's worse then. I've never heard of Rabbi Barkley before. Was he a known entity, or is he someone you're just supposed to have always known?
He was a conservative contributor to websites like like PJ News. Right. I wasn't that aware of him beforehand, but this kind of was my first big exposure to him. And I've got to say, he did not impress me. I listened to Dave Smith, the libertarian guy, his show Part of the Problem. Sure. I listened to him, and he was talking about a lot of this and saying, mate, you're literally like you're a leftist. If you call yourself a conservative, but these are all of the arguments that you're making, then you can't really claim to be a conservative in any way. She also cleared up uncategorically that she condemned the October 7th attack and is not some kind of Hamas sympathizer or supporter, because why would she be? She just doesn't like it as a mother when she sees videos on social media of children and babies being killed in bombing runs. She doesn't think that that's a nice thing.
I was going to say, if you criticize Israel and things, it doesn't, the go-to thing is say, oh, what are you, PLO? Are you like Alexa Martyr Brigade or something? You're like really pro-Palestinian or something. Well, she's obviously not that, right? No, it's not coming from that angle.
But the thing that really...
I imagine.
The thing that I wanted to highlight was the clip where, obviously, in that article, Barkley kept highlighting that she said Hitler was okay. She said Hitler was okay. Is that true? No, it's not. And listen to the lies, the way he justifies himself after this. Because at first she's going to play the clip of what she actually said in 2018, because what he was referring to was filmed and caught on camera and recorded. And then he gives his take afterwards.
About Gaza. And this goes back to the anti-Semitism canvas. What happened October 7th is unique. This
is not the clip that I wanted, Jack. Apologies. Jack, let me mess with it. Jack, give me the mouse. Thank you very much. Let me get it to the right timestamp. Right, 22. Here we go, around here.
Of me is whether or not nationalism is an okay word to embrace. Let's play the clip so we can hear me and what I actually said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. he was a National Socialist. But if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way. That's not, to me, that's not nationalism.
So again, we're trying there to define nationalism. Does your statement, she publicly said that Hitler was okay, is that an honest statement?
Yeah. So let's talk about this for a moment. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You were asked a question about nationalism.
Mm-hmm.
You responded with an example of Adolf Hitler.
Yes, I said because Americans associate, the reason why they think it's a dirty word is because of Adolf Hitler.
You respond, and you have subsequently, and I've seen you subsequently, and I think you even said it at the congressional hearing, you have obviously condemned him for who he was. But you brought Hitler's name into a discussion.
Correct.
Okay? And you justified that this is how America feels or how people feel. And that's your take on it. It's not necessarily accurate. And in fact, it probably isn't from an actual sociological standpoint. But that's your opinion. Fine. But Candace, you put in the same sentence what he did if it just had stayed in Germany was okay. But more importantly, and here's a piece of the anti-Semitism. Why bring one of the most evil men of history into the discussion? You could just as easily have given any negative examples of nationalism. You chose to bring Hitler up, not them.
I did, and I have no. If I could go backwards in the context of trying to understand why Americans think that nationalism is a bad word, it was appropriate for me to bring off Adolf Hitler. It is totally appropriate in any capacity when you are talking about history and historical sentiments to bring up any relevant character that has created those sentiments. So I just want to yes or no. After watching that, I want to make sure we don't run out of time here. After watching that in context, do you think it is fair that you wrote, she publicly said that Hitler was okay? Hitler was okay.
Yeah. Yes, by bringing me even into the conversation, yes, I do.
Okay, great.
There you go. Like, literally presented evidence to his face. You are lying. And then he comes up with an argument that I can only really describe as completely flailing, literally throwing anything against the wall to see what sticks. Because obviously, when you're talking about the modern context, why people think the word nationalism is bad, obviously, that goes back to the fact that anybody who is remotely nationalist is always equated with Hitler. So that's obviously the example you bring up. But to him, just saying the word, saying his name, invoking his name like it's bloody Harry Potter or something.
It's like saying it 3 times in a mirror and it'll materialize like Candyman or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. So that article was taken down.
Okay.
This man is a fool. This man is an absolute hack. But
that was very shameless.
Yeah, that was some of the most bold lying I've ever seen. Ever. But one of the other figures that's come out of it, like we've already mentioned him, I don't think anybody was expecting the resurgence of Rabbi Shmuley to be one of the biggest characters to come out of all of this. And some of the things that he does and says. Now, going to be very careful. I'm going to play some clips from a recent interview or debate he did with Alex Jones, which I listened to this morning before I came into work, which was remarkable. Not to cast judgment on these arguments, but for instance, Alex Jones was once again, like Candace Owens, criticizing some of the actions that Israel has taken since October 7th. Rabbi Shmuley responded to him by saying that this was a form of Holocaust denial. Very interesting argument to throw out there. But before that, Shmuley posted this.
Yeah.
He posted this, which was a picture of himself dressed up in a costume for Purim, as what he referred to as the Candace Owens Jew. I think that speaks for itself.
It's Purim.
It's a
like Jewish Halloween. That's how they describe it.
It's a Jewish holiday. I'm not
so apparently the tradition is, according to this guy, and even I think Ben spoke about this, criticizing this, is saying that they have often dressed up as their enemies to mock them because they've been a persecuted people. So now he's dressed up as the most anti-Semitic caricature you'd ever see, drinking Christian blood out of a sippy cup. That's demented.
Yeah, this is not the behavior of a well-adjusted man, but that's my personal opinion. He also posts this massive Warlow text at the Daily Wire saying that they are a cesspit of anti-Semitism, misogyny, and anti-black racism, saying that Jeremy Boring had called all Jews whores, despite the fact that in the interview that he's referring to, Jeremy Boring called Shmuley a whore, so Shmuley is taking on himself as the representative and character for all of Jewish peoples and behavior across the whole world, I suppose. And then you get these interview clips, these debate clips, where he just comes across like a sensible and intelligent man.
Going into Rafah is going to make them unpopular.
Also, can I just say, if you want people to win over you, if you want to win people over to your side when you're in debates with them, make it so that your microphone is not clipping and you're yelling into it the entire time, because almost burst my eardrums. Alex Jones came across as sensible and positively sensible and centered in this interview, and came across like a sane man, down to earth kind of guy. He came across like a lunatic.
You lie about the people of Jesus, and you say that you wrote yesterday in a tweet that Israel going into Rafah is going to make them unpopular. We've been unpopular for 2,000 years because we keep the covenant of God that everyone else has broken. We live by the 10 commandments. We don't go crusading against people and drowning them in the Main River. We don't gas people. We believe that adultery is wrong. We fight things like pornography. We establish communities and families. The Jewish communities and families are revered by their worst enemies around the world. So we're hated for it, and we're prepared to be hated for it. Are you telling me that I should pursue your popularity? That I should go and lie about whether children died in Sandy Hook because I might get more viewers and sell more supplements?
Shmuley.
Don't give me this popularity stuff, because I don't give a damn if I'm popular or not.
Your Holiness.
I care if I'm right with God.
Now, this is prompted by the fact that Alex Jones said that it was rather strange that he, as a rabbi, would be involved in his daughter's sex toy business.
He's written books called Kosher Sex and the Kosher Sutra, I think. So when he says he's fighting against pornography, I mean, it's not an unreasonable interpretation to say that those are pornographic topics.
Again, someone I've never heard of before a few days ago.
He
Suddenly,
appeared on Piers Morgan to debate Mohammed Hijab a few months ago. Yeah, both have gone some questionable statements.
It did all end quite in a really funny way. So this is the clip that I saw going around at first, where Alex Jones decided, after an hour of being yelled at by this absolute madman, decided that he was just going to end it with like this.
The left wants to arrest conservatives. They want to put Trump in prison. All right, Rabbi, thank you so much. I don't want to keep our guest host too long. I appreciate it.
Can I promote my 2 books? You promoted a lot of your powders, man.
I love butt
Jesus,
plugs for pedophiles.
No, I told you I'm giving those to you for free because you seem to really need it. So that's a gift. You don't have to plug that. It's coming. Just
will
give me
you
your
help
address.
me fit my butt plug?
However,
Are you Rabbi Butt Plug?
Whatever floats your boat, Alex Jones. It seems that you're jealous of my sex life very deeply, and I don't want you to be jealous. I want to, it seems that your skills in that area may be a little bit lacking.
You're right. I'm not as good as doing lap dances with my grandchildren.
I want to promote.
The left wants to arrest conservatives.
Yeah. There was a clip of him at a party grinding against what looked like one of his grandchildren. It was very strange.
What the hell is 2024?
I know, this whole thing is completely insane. Once again, to the point where more sensible people like Gad Saad, in response to more Rabbi Shmuley schizo posting, is saying, please stop.
Fled Lebanon as a Jew because he was going to be killed. So Gad Saad, notorious
anti-Zionist, anti-Jew, anti-Semite. Yeah, saying, please stop. Everybody, you're making everybody haters. Please stop. And Avi Yemeni just saying, like, we can't control this man. Like, why is he posting this? We're saying, please stop. Now, there are a few theories I have, and this is going to take all of this with a pinch of salt because this is conspiratorial thinking and we don't have too much time left. So there is one theory that I saw bandied about by Bronze Age Pervert earlier and yesterday, which is that a lot of these organizations, Nick Fuentes has ties, Daily Wire has ties, are all funded by, or have received funding in the past by, Texas oil billionaires, the Wilkes brothers. and that this is some kind of cross-promotional controversy that's been generated artificially to try to get more eyes on them. I don't necessarily know how much I fall into that, because it seems like it would be a hell of a way to generate controversy by making your flagship brand look bad
and lose money compared to Nick Fuentes, who doesn't have nearly the audience size or reach.
And destroy the very fabric of society. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough strategy. That's how it works for him.
There's one theory of what Rabbi Shmuley is, which is where you could say that he's being funded by perhaps pro-Palestinian forces to make people hate pro-Israel types by just presenting them as this.
That's some 4D.
No, this is all conspiratorial. I'm not suggesting this is what's actually going on.
You should have suggested that. I'm going to be honest. If you wanted to avoid a lawsuit,
I'm not saying that that's what's actually going on. This is my fun conspiratorial thinking.
That seems mad, but like you say, 2024 seems to have gone mad.
You could also say that he's doing this so that he can make people like Avi Yemeni and Gad Saad, who's received a lot of criticism in recent months, look better by being able to announce him. Or, more likely, this is just who this guy is.
If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Brokenomics series, this episode on getting a one-up on a Wall Street. If you'd like to find out what else we put out, you can follow on Twitter at lotuseaters_com on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.